let's talk about something I like to refer to as health span fitness. In this really great article too, they say that the most ancient and potent medicine known to mankind that promotes health span is the engagement in organized, repeated, and purposeful physical activities or exercise training. But again, that comes second to diet first, but second is movement. Here is a great graphic of the benefits of exercise on health span. It enhances insulin sensitivity, mass and contractility of the muscle, mitochondrial content and quality. It helps with immune surveillance, antioxidants. It helps with mitochondrial quality, hormonal adaptation, neuroplasticity, neurogenesis, angiogenesis, cardiovascular contractility, mitochondrial content and quality. It helps with anti-obesity, anti-inflammation, and fatty acid oxidation. There are so many benefits, specifically with health span. Basically, exercise is important for every single system in the body. And in terms of aging healthfully, it's use it or lose it. It's taking care of all your joints and your bones and your muscles to preserve whatever you can in the best, safest possible way. So it wards off disease. It decreases risk of dying from many diseases. It improves your circulation and your lipid profiles. It helps maintain weight. It does not help lose weight. It's very, very much does not help with weight loss, but it's important to lose the weight fast is what I have my clients do. Get done with the weight loss, and then we bring back exercise with purpose because it's crucial for every other thing, including weight loss maintenance, but it does interfere with weight loss. I'm happy to talk about that if someone wants to ask me later. It improves your mood, it improves your sleep, stress reduction, increases your bone and muscle density, super important, decreases blood pressure, enhances insulin sensitivity, and improves immune function. So let's talk about some of those specifically. The cardiovascular endurance, which is the capacity of your heart and lungs to supply oxygen-rich blood to the working muscles. And basically you're giving oxygen to the muscles and you're bringing nutrients there and you're getting rid of toxins, and you're getting rid of you're detoxifying as you exercise. You are pumping. You know, our cardiovascular system has a heart to pump it, but we also, our lymphatic system does not have a heart to pump it, a pump. So our muscles pump our lymphatic system and squeeze out throughout the lymph nodes, throughout the system. It basically traces your cardiovascular system. So it's really important for detoxification. It's really important for nutrient and oxygen delivery. So the benefits of doing cardiovascular endurance exercise is to decreasing peripheral vascular resistance, increasing maximum oxygen consumption, less fatigue, and all the other things we were talking about before. Oops. Well, what is it? It's basically using large muscle groups which can be maintained continuously and rhythmically and is aerobic in nature. Walking, hiking, running, swimming, biking, skiing, dancing, my favorite kind, rope skipping, rowing, stair climbing, all of those things. Ideally, you're doing these about 3 to 5 days a week, formally more so, like for 20 to 60 minutes a session. I think it's 150 minutes a week is the good minimum. I think the American Heart Association, that's the current still, I think that's still the current guideline. But the cool thing is, which I love to remind people, is it doesn't have to be contiguous. You don't have to do it all in one dose. In fact, it's good to break it up throughout the day, go back to the blue zones. So we just heard a podcast also recently saying, and I don't know the science, I couldn't quote it, but I just heard it and it makes sense, is every half an hour, get up for 5 minutes. And that doesn't mean like go exercise, but go do something else, go get some tea, go and fix some more tea, and that will help you have to go to the bathroom more, so you're walking more. So those little things that you could sprinkle and pepper throughout your day. I have a yoga mat right in front of me. So in between clients, in between, writing, I will go and do like a 5-minute little workout just to get my blood flowing. It helps my brain, it helps refocus. It's just a really nice to pepper it throughout the day. But ultimately you want to think about it overall and aim for about 150 minutes a week. Strength becomes increasingly important. My goodness, last year, for the first time in my life, I broke a bone and it was terrifying because I've never broken anything. And it was my right hand. I'm right-handed. It was my right elbow. I chipped it. I fell. And in a slippery bathroom. It was really scary, but it was crazy what happens when you lose your strength and you lose your functionality. And that was my first very humbling experience of my life where I realized how important it is to do what you're able to do. And you take it for granted until you lose it. But strength is something that you need to work on. You need to work on resistance exercise. It's the most important thing you could do for your bones. It's the most important thing you could do for your muscles. But here's where this ego thing that I was talking about at the beginning comes into play. As you're aging, you have to be really careful of your joints. You don't want to end up injuring yourself because those injuries stick around for a long time. And there's a balance between enough strength, enough endurance, and not injuring yourself. And again, as someone that was really hardcore, I was really strong and crazy in the gym, and I'd work out 8 hours a day with my clients. I loved being a personal trainer because I got to exercise all day. I was crazy like that. And it is a humbling experience to realize that those injuries will stay forever. And now you have to be extra careful now. So there's this kind of like, I don't know, seesaw, if you will, and things that have to kind of evolve and let your ego go. And you're not going to do your personal best all the time. Right now, it's about like taking care of you for the future and to minimize any damage long-term that you could do on your joints. So that said, it's the most important overarching recommendation is to listen to your body. Anything, a sharp pain, something that just feels wrong, don't push past that. That's my biggest advice. If it's like a little burning because your, muscles are putting out the lactic acid, that's a good thing. But learning the difference between that is really important, and always saying no when it feels wrong, because that's an important thing to learn. But you want to do strength and resistance training consistently. That's how you're going to preserve your bones and muscle mass. So you want to make sure it's of sufficient intensity to enhance strength and muscular endurance, maintain that fat-free muscular mass without injury. You want it to be progressive in nature, but again, when you hit a certain point, you're not progressing anymore, you're just maintaining. But the way to do that in an interesting way is to keep this very different, is to just keep varying things up, do different exercises, use different weights, do different types of strength training, use different equipment or no equipment, body weight exercises. Switch it up, because then your body has to keep thinking and it will respond to that. So you're not going to constantly, like when I was younger and training, I was like, working on the bench press and I was trying to get up to however many plates and all that. And, you're not doing that anymore because you're not trying to like get to your personal best anymore. My son is a football player and he's always like, Mom, look, he'll show me a video of him doing his bench press. It's so cute. He's huge, but it's really funny how it just shifts over the lifespan. And when we're talking about health span specifically, it's not about that anymore. It's now about preserving strength. And so keep shifting, but you're going to have to top out the actual progression in a certain way, if that makes sense. It's kind of a hard lesson to learn and a hard thing to explain, actually, but listening to your body is really important. Should be individualized for you. What do you love to do? What feels good? What do you have at what's accessible to you? I really do prefer to work out at home with nothing, with no equipment. So that's where I focus on finding exercises. But if you like to go outside, then find things you could do outside, whatever works for you, whatever works for what your body loves and thrives on. You want to stimulate all of the major muscle groups. So not just getting stuck on, those overuse injuries happen when you're focusing on one muscle group too much and you're not balancing it out. So balance is really important as well. So it used to be, try to get at least one set of 8 to 10 different exercises that condition the major muscle group about 2 to 3 times a week. And I think that's a good kind of minimum to base on. But again, it doesn't have to be all in one dose. You can pepper it throughout your week in different ways. And then multiple set regimens may provide greater benefit, or using complex exercises. Those are really good. You get a lot of things at the same time, like lunges, squats, push-ups, pull-ups, dips, things like that, where you're getting different joint areas and you're getting complex movements in. Those are really good. Plus you're getting your heart rate up. You get the best of all the worlds. Something else that's increasingly important as in health span and as we age is flexibility, because we get tight. How many of you know that you get tight and you really want to like use it or lose it in terms of flexibility too? So I do recommend incorporating flexibility every day throughout the day. So you want to warm up first, and then you want to stretch all the major muscle groups, and then work out and then stretch again at the end. But it's really important to stretch throughout the day. Feels good. It's just use it or lose it. And you want to make sure you're increasing and maintaining, or at least maintaining your range of motion. Other things that I learned the hard way when I fell really fast and broke my arm last year was to not forget balance and coordination, especially klutzy people like me. Balance exercises can really help prevent falls and improve coordination. You can develop these neural pathways at any age, which is kind of exciting. It's not, use it or lose it at a young age and then it's all game over. You could still increase it. You could build these new neural pathways now. And so there's like a really crazy thing I used to do with my clients. It's so simple. If you want to try this right now, if you just stand up, stand on one foot, balance yourself on that one foot. Now close your eyes and the wind picks up and all of a sudden it's really hard to coordinate. It's so fascinating that the way that works. But even simple exercises like that are really helpful for your balance and coordination. Doing things on one foot. Like I was the other day at the gym, I was standing on one foot and doing my like military press on one leg just to change it up and to work on the little tiny muscles in my ankle and all the little muscles that are going to help with stability and all that stuff. So just playing with different things like that. I love a stability ball. That's a great thing. They have all this great stability equipment, but again, you don't need much. And I love this old cartoon. What fits your busy schedule better? Exercising 1 hour a day or being dead 24 hours a day? It's a little extreme, but movement, 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 move it or lose it. So how do we implement fitness into your everyday life? Many ways. My number one piece of advice is to find something you love to do. It doesn't have to be formal. It doesn't have to be a certain thing. Something you love, you're going to want to do it. Make it something you love or someone you want to be with that you want to do it with. You know, you want to go for a walk with your loved one at the end of the day. You know, if you want to, you know, take a class with your daughter, whatever it is that's really fun and exciting and feels good, do that because there is no perfect thing. It just do what feels good. Experiment with new things if you haven't found it yet. You know, maybe you haven't tried a martial art or Pilates class or, you know, a new piece of equipment or a new, that's funny, this is how old my slide is, new workout video, because now we've got it on, there's apps and there's websites and you can find anything you could ever want to do is available at the click of your finger. And everyday activities, take the stairs. In fact, before I got on here with you, I had my lunch and I wanted to warm up. So I went up and down my staircase 10 times and that was great. My heart rate was up, my blood was flowing so I could talk a million miles a minute like I am right now. But it's just, the stairs are right there. So it's just great. So if you're parking somewhere and you can go up the elevator or you can go up the stairs, take the stairs. I always try to encourage people to take the stairs and it's just a great excuse. Park as far away as possible. You know, there's the joke about parking as close as possible at the gym. So you're saving all those steps, but you know, that step counter, I really do love. I'm kind of obsessed with how many of you are obsessed with your step trackers. Those are really helpful. It inspires you. Try to get the 10,000 steps a day. It's not so easy for most of us, especially if you work at a desk, at a computer. But parking far away, walking up the escalators, if there's no stairs and you can walk up the escalators, you could walk instead of stand, instead of sit, instead of lie down. That's the more you do, the more, the better. Just be active. Just think active, active, active. And then really schedule it in, put it into your calendar, make it happen every week, because if you don't schedule it in, a million things is going to get in your way. Here's some silly things I used to tell my clients when I was a personal trainer. I would have them at a stoplight because, okay, I live in Los Angeles. We're always in traffic. That's just obviously very cliche and true. So I have them like squeeze your glutes and hold it until the light turns green, or squeeze your abs, contract your abs, because even those isometric contractions are doing something, you know, great excuse. Also drink more fluids so that you're not only staying hydrated, but you have to keep walking to the bathroom. So it's, you know, go get some fluids, go get rid of the fluids, go get some fluids, and you're freeing two birds with one cage, as Melanie Joy says. Squat or plie or calf raise or leg swing while you're brushing your teeth or washing dishes. I did a whole video, you guys, on exercises you could do while you're on your phone. So if you go to my social media, you could find that. It was 5 of my favorite exercises to do while I'm on the phone. Yes, I do those while I'm on the phone. That's why I prefer phone over Zoom, but you really can do a lot of things while you're talking on the phone and make it active. So back to simplicity and the few tenets to key in on. Back to Michael Pollan, eat food, not too much, mostly plants, eat the rainbow every day. Those are the two simplest things to come out with. And then also to move, just move your body. But remember, there is no such thing as a perfect diet. It doesn't exist. But if you keep it about curiosity and conscientiousness, every choice matters. Each choice can lead to a cascade of choices that can ultimately lead to optimal health span. I wish for you to have not only more years in your life, but also so much love and life in your years. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm happy to take your questions.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Julieanna. That was some great information. So we're now going to begin our Q&A portion of the presentation. For anyone that wants to ask a question, they can raise their hand in Zoom. And if anyone's interested in finding out more about Julieanna's books, you can go to the bookstore on therealtruthabout.health.com. Then you can learn more about her books, and then go ahead and buy that on Amazon or any store that Juliana recommends. Um, so so real quickly, you brought up Michael Pollan, who's great, and he had a thing, I believe it was Michael Pollan, about orthorexia, where people become very obsessed about eating the right way. What in order to avoid that, the complexity of trying to get every nutrient exactly right, what are the essential things that you think are necessary that if somebody just wants to get started without overwhelming themselves?
Back to what I said is the 6 daily 3s, focusing on those food groups. I haven't seen that thing on the orthorexia, but I think that anyone that's making a conscious decision about eating healthy should be lauded as opposed to being assaulted and being called with a diagnosis of having an illness, orthorexia as like a problem. Because most people are just trying to be healthier. And I think that that's a really good thing. And most people are just not aware of what they're doing and they're just eating whatever and they're doing what society tells them to eat. And I think that's where the problem is. And I don't think anyone should ever feel shameful about trying to eat healthy. So I don't like that term per se. I know it does happen for certain people, but generally speaking, the 6 daily 3s, eating your leafy green and cruciferous, eating your other colored veggies, your fruits, your legumes, your nuts and seeds, your mushrooms, moving more, eating the rainbow, like keeping it super simple, but eating as simple as and whole of the food as possible. Just that's it. Find a recipe that you love that has those foods in it. Eat 7 to 10 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. I'm saying the same thing in 10 different ways.
Sure.
As simple as possible. It doesn't have, there is no such thing as a perfect diet. So why strive for anything that doesn't exist?
So you brought up mushrooms as part of your talk. And I've heard things about mushrooms when you're eating them raw that they may contain something that may not be good for you. Do you cook your mushrooms? Do you suggest that people eat them raw? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a guarantee. Definitely don't eat them raw because of that. It's cancer promoting, and definitely cook them. And they're so easy to cook and you could do it in a million different ways. Or you could, even if you don't like to cook them or eat them, a lot of people don't. The texture first, even though there's so many different textures, you can do a portobello mushroom cap, or you do like minced mushrooms, or you could do, there's so many delicious ways to eat mushrooms. But if you don't love mushrooms, you could also do a mushroom capsule if you really want to, or but yeah, definitely cook them. I think it's a geratin is the name of the compound that's cancer promoting that are found in raw mushrooms. So you definitely want to cook them.
Great, thank you. And you mentioned, drinking coffee and tea as a way to hydrate. And I know for a long time people were talking about, like, coffee especially, but I think tea as well, about them being a diuretic and they're dehydrating. Is that true? Is that a myth? And what's your recommendation?
Well, I mean, it's always funny about that because it's dehydrating as it's hydrating. So really, I don't know if no, they're wonderful. They're not, it's dehydrating to not drink. And if you're, a lot of people don't even like water. So if you don't like water and you won't drink water, so at least add some tea and get some more water that way. Have it as coffee, add some, you could add some fresh lemon juice to your water, but there's nothing wrong with drinking coffee and tea because it's such a subtle version of diuresis, that you're getting it compensated for by the liquid in which you're consuming it.
Yeah, right. Beautiful. And how about salt? So a lot of people obsess about, this salt versus that salt. Does it matter? And if so, what's your suggestion?
Well, that's a whole interesting topic. So now that we know that salt is so detrimental to our health and that we're eating too much of it, if you've already tapered down and you're just trying to get or you have this allotment of about 1,500 milligrams a day, then you say, well, where should you get the salt from? Well, in my recipes, I like to use things like miso paste, or I use like coconut aminos or gluten-free tamari or something like that, or soy sauce, something like that, the lowest sodium version I could find, because you get umami, you get the salt, and it just adds a nice flavor to the food at the end of right before you eat it. But the other thing, if you're eating salt itself, it could be a good source of iodine, because when I was in grad school, I learned about goiters and how, iodine deficiency was cured. It's been 100 years since they iodized the salt supply because there was all this thyroid disease and iodine and goiters that were happening. So they iodized the salt and it really did fix the problem. But nowadays, now I'm starting to see goiters again. I'm like, wait, what? This was eradicated. Well, I realized that, well, people are eating fancy salts, the Himalayan pink salt or this black lava salt, and those are not iodized. So if you're going to eat salt in its salt form versus miso paste or something like that, get the iodized version and use it as your source of iodine, because adults need 150 micrograms a day, and a lot of people are not getting that anymore.
And actually, we had Lynn Farrow do a whole talk on iodine and its importance. So if you haven't heard that, for the audience as well as for you. She had some great information on iodine. So what are other myths as people try to get healthy that you find confuse people when they're when they're beginning their journey?
Okay, my number one, here's my big pet peeve, is what I call macro confusion. And it is the number one cause of confusion for not only the layperson, but even the healthcare provider and the researcher. And I could go on and on about why, but just briefly, like all the macronutrient nonsense that people are obsessed with, like getting their macros and the right macros, and all, there is zero. We have never established a perfect ratio of macros. It doesn't exist because, for example, we have really healthy moderate fat diets like the Mediterranean diet. Some will call it a high fat diet, but we have very healthy low fat diets like the Okinawan diet. The other thing is the best example of this was the 2018 Lancet Journal article. And the conclusion of this article and the title of the article was that both low carbohydrate diets and high carbohydrate diets increase mortality. How do you even corroborate that? What do you even do with that information? So what do you eat? So the reason for that is that when you look at the diet research, diet is very, very, very complicated to study.